All right, guys, welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to be breaking down why Google Ads for a home service business, how to use it, to get more customers, pretty much everything top to bottom, how to run Google Ads the right way. Now, this isn't going to be a click this button, set it up this way type of video. I'm not a glorified tech support guy. This is going to be way more valuable than that. Instead, we're going to go over the strategy, we're going to go over the thought process, and we're going to be able to apply this to any sort of actual like click-by-click tutorial that you've ever done. Or if you've already know the platform, you can do this yourself. But yeah, this is going to be way more valuable than anything like that you could possibly watch. So keep watching this. I'll go through the whole funnel top to bottom of, why we're doing Google Ads, how to set it up the right way for the right sorts of results, specifically for house calls, home service type business. This works if you do, big projects like remodeling or landscaping. It also works if you just do service calls like garage door repair or plumbing or something like that. So we're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to go through how to set up, how to do the keyword selection, ad groups, responsive search ads, landing pages, call tracking, retargeting, whole thing top to bottom. So the first question is, why should we do Google Ads? There's a couple different ways we could get customers, right? But what comes down to some of the big benefits. So the metrics that I see driving what determines our customer acquisition channels, what matters the most is where the good customers are. This thing's dead. Where the specifically good customers are is important. You don't want to be, putting your billboard on a low-income street because those customers, they're not worth your time. They're going to be price haggling. You're going to be racing to the bottom. So you want to be where the good customers are. That might even mean for you, if you do remodeling, you don't want to go in and just do one powder room. You want to do the full kitchen, or you want to do something like that. So it's not just the good customers, but also the good jobs, depending on the industry you're in. And the second thing is, how predictable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. The other word I might say is, how predictable / fast. Sorry, my writing is terrible. / maybe scalable, Consistent, I guess is another word I could use. What I'm trying to get at here is other methods of advertising, like I mentioned before, billboards, or maybe, SEO, or, which isn't really advertising, but marketing in general, I mean, or TV commercials or radio. They aren't as predictable and scalable as this. Like, you can't draw a clear connection between, okay, if I spend X amount of money this month, I got this many customers. Now, if I spend 2X next month, I'll get 2X customers. That's not really something that you can do with this. Also, certain things like, SEO and things like that, that might take a long time to get results. It might take 6 months. Same with, scalable, right? You might not be able to scale that. If your SEO ranking #1 and you still want to get more work, well then, you got to start doing some advertising. You got to start doing some other things. So it's one of the highest scalable things. Also, it's on Google. This is the place where everybody goes, especially for home services, where everybody goes to get their problem solved. ChatGPT might be kind of creeping into that a little bit, but ChatGPT pulls information from Google, so it's a one-on-one thing. This is the #1 place to be. It's the best place on the internet. It is like the yellow pages of the modern day. That's where people go to find people to solve their solutions. So Google's the best place to be, and Google Ads specifically gives you the most control, most predictable, easiest way to find these customers. So now that we've talked about why Google Ads, there's actually a couple things I should mention. So first, I didn't talk about Meta or Facebook ads. Now, the reason I don't recommend Facebook ads off the rip, they are good, don't get me wrong, but there's a core difference here. When somebody goes on Google to find your ad versus someone on Facebook or Instagram, they are specifically making the first move. They are typing your service near me, or best service in city, or something, I need this service done. They are making that first move. They're declaring to the world, hey, I need this service, and then you show up for them. So the way that's different than something like Facebook or Instagram, people on Facebook or Instagram, they're just scrolling. They're looking at family pictures, looking at stupid memes. They're not in the mood to buy something. I'm not saying they don't work, they still work, but Google has the highest intent type of customer because these are people who are, actively researching right now. They're actively making that buying decision. They actively want their problem solved. So that's why Google. Um, let's talk about like how Google Ads look. So, let's say you do your search on your phone. I'm just going to draw a phone here. Here's your search bar. You type in blah, 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 blah near me. There's a couple type of different ways that Google search results tend to show up. This also changes depending what year you're watching this in. So, excuse me. So this is how it looks in 2025. Typically, what you'll see is Google LSA right here. So this is like local service ads. You can think of this as, your Google business profile. I'll do that. Google business profile tends to show up right there. Then you'll get the normal Google ads. So I'll just put ads here after that. Then you'll get one of two things down here. I'll put them side by side to represent that they kind of alternate. You'll either get the map, which is more Google business profile, or you will get just like organic results. So let's break this down, right? So here's our search bar. Ignore everything above that. So LSA and these organic kind of go hand in hand. And then, excuse me. Yeah, LSA kind of goes hand in hand with organic and map a little bit, more like map. Because the way this is, it's your Google business profile, right? So these two are Google business profile. And this is an ad that you can specifically write. And this is your website. What I'm primarily going to be talking about today is this right here. LSA is fine. It has its own problems. It's a pay per lead service. It's really hard to figure out a way to outrank somebody if there's competition in your area. It's not the easiest thing to do. I would recommend trying it. It's not what this video is going to be about today. I don't think it's nearly as predictable or nearly as scalable as standard ads. Just because it's higher doesn't mean it's necessarily better for you. Because just because it's higher doesn't mean that cost per lead is going to be lower. It doesn't mean that you're going to get more leads. This is very unpredictable. The way this works is it just pulls your Google business profile and shows it there as a person to call, and there's no ad involved in that, right? So you select an industry. Say you're a plumber. You say I'm in the plumbing industry. Any sort of like plumbing search you're showing up for. You can't really have too much fine-tuned control over that. You can't write an ad, so it's just going to say Joe's Plumbing. It's not going to say call now for the best plumbing solution, yada yada yada, like an ad actually would. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of these. Do them if you want. They can be like an icing on the cake type thing, but this is the bulk of where things are going to come from. Map Pack and organic, these are both organic things. So the Map Pack is going to be an organic Google business profile, whereas organic is going to be an organic website. That's up to you. But ads are what we're going to be talking about today because I think they're the highest leverage and you have the most control of them. So let's go over how they look. So first, one of the most important things that we need to talk about first is keyword selection. When you're doing any sort of Google advertising, one of the biggest levers that you can pull to determine, how successful is this going to be, is what searches your ads even show up for. So that's keyword selection. Now, some rookie advertisers might just say, they might go out and they might think of every type of search that their customer might be searching. And I'm going to tell you that's the absolute wrong way to do this. So what we're going to think about here is we want to really only target a specific type of person, especially when you're starting out. Maybe if you've been running your account for a while, you want to start expanding, that's fine. But if you're, let's pick an example here. If you're doing garage door repair, if somebody searches garage door, that's their whole search, garage door. Yes, they might be looking for garage door repair, but we don't know that for sure. So we don't want to bid on that exact search, if that makes sense. We don't want to try to capture every single fish in the pond. If we're fishing, right, this is actually a great analogy I just thought of. When you go fishing, there's certain spots around the pond that you're going to go fishing at because that's where, the fish tend to congregate. Maybe it's under some trees, under a log, under the dock. That's where fish tend to congregate, and that's where you're going to be more likely to get more fish. Because when you fish, it takes time, it takes bait, it takes resources to get the result. Now, on the other side of the lake, there's probably still fish over there, but we don't know that for certain. We don't know how many there is. We don't know like where the spots are, and that's kind of like picking keywords that are very general. Like, yes, sure, there might be fish over there. Yes, you might be able to catch those fish, but it's not the best type of fish to catch. So don't do something like garage door. This term, way too vague. It's like fishing in the open water where you don't know where the fish are. We want to do one that's like fishing under the dock where you know the bass are hanging out. So there we go. Garage door spring repair in Lincoln. This is the type of search we're going to bid on. This is the type of keyword that we want to select, because this is how we know that this person is specifically looking for what we sell. And I would rather my ad show up for this search 1 out of every 10 times than 10 out of 10 times here. This is where we want to be. These are the types of customers that we want calling us. So that's kind of keyword selection. A big focus about this is also buying intent. You know, we need to be picking ones that clearly have a clear buying intent by that customer. So when you're doing this selection, you know, some people will say, oh, only do so many keywords, or only do this many or that many. I don't really put a number on how many you should do. Do how many makes sense. So some services, they might swap out certain words. So like renovation versus remodeling, for example. In that case, I would make, you know, all of my renovation searches, I would duplicate them for remodeling. As long as it has strong buying intent, add it. Just keep adding them. If that's like the type of person you want to service, add them. Also do slight variations. Google garage door spring repair in Lincoln. Change it to just garage door repair in Lincoln. You know, actually, just kind of getting into my next topic. Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about keywords without talking about ad groups, so I'm going to include that here. So let's say you have your big list of keywords. You know, you have 50 keywords that you want to target. They're all like this. They're not like this one. They're high intent, high buying intent searches, specific, totally understandable. The next thing you need to do is you need to group these into different ad groups. And how can I describe this? Well, I guess I can use this example, right? So this one, garage door spring repair. You're probably going to have some other searches that include the word spring in it, or involve the spring of the garage door repair part. What you want to do is you want to take that and you want to put that in a specific ad group. So you want to bucket out each one of your searches. So the reason we do this is because when you make these ad groups, just think of them as buckets that are holding all of your different keywords that you're bidding on. When you're making these ad groups, that tells Google what actual ad to show to that keyword. So if you have all these keywords, right? So let's say you have your keyword 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is an ad group 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is an ad group 2. Maybe this one only has 3 keywords. Maybe this one has 15 keywords. You get the point. These are all in their own ad group. And these ad groups show all these different searches to the same ad. So you want to make sure that these are very tightly matched, because what we're trying to achieve here is message match. Let me change my example from garage door to something else. So if we are doing epoxy flooring or any sort of flooring, maybe for garage floors, or maybe you do some other type of concrete treating, maybe on backyard patios or something like that. Those are 2 types of keywords you might be bidding on. You might be bidding on garage floor epoxy, and you also might be bidding on patio concrete treatment. You might do both those things. So those would be in 2 different ad groups. But we want them going to different ads. And the reason we want them going for different ads is because we don't want them going to an ad saying, we handle it all. We do every sort of concrete treatment, cement treatment services. We do this, that, and the other thing. What you want them to go to is, if they search for epoxy, send them to an ad that is specifically garage floor epoxy. That's it. We don't want to talk about anything else you do. Send them to an ad specifically about patios getting treated with the concrete. Or or send them or send them to an ad specifically about the location. So before I had that example where it mentioned Lincoln, well, if somebody types in a location in their search, you better put it in the actual ad itself because they care about that. They're telling you they care about that. It's in their search. It's what they care about. So what we want to do when we're doing this keyword bidding as ad grouping is we also want to be noticing the keywords of the keywords, so that makes sense. Like the key, I wish there was another word for key. From these searches, we want to pull out the key phrases and key actual words that we're talking about. So for example, spring was one of those key words that we want to make an ad group around. So anytime somebody types in spring repair, they go into here. Lincoln is the same thing. So it was a location. So we want to make them go in here. Now, you'll probably see the issue here. You're like, okay, well, that keyword was in spring and Lincoln. What do we do? So this is what we do. You ignore the locations first, and you make every ad group for every type of service or every way they say that service. So, kitchen remodeling, kitchen renovation, bathroom remodeling, bathroom renovation, kitchen and bathroom remodeling, kitchen and bathroom renovation. Those are all different ad groups. Then, when you start incorporating locations, so most people, you might service one metro area, and people don't tend to search for like the smaller neighborhood names. So if you service, one metro area, typically you can just take your generic ones that don't mention a location, duplicate them, and put that name of that location in there as well. So you would have your 5 standard ad groups, and then you'd have the next 5 with the location involved. And if you service, kind of 2 areas, 2 bigger areas that people tend to use the name, triple it, right? So you have generic, area 1, area 2. That's kind of how we do it. So we've been making a bunch of different ad groups that way. I hope this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this process, or if it doesn't make any sense. I'll try to get back to you, kind of tell you what I'm trying to convey to you here about selecting the ad groups with the actual keywords. So we have all these types of searches in the world that are happening on a daily basis in our area. We have selected the types of searches we care about. We've categorized them into ad groups about, okay, these are the same intent. And then we're going to try to achieve message match. And the way we do that is with how we write these ads. So the ads for Google Ads are kind of unique. They're not hard coded. That's my computer science background coming in here. They're not set in stone. What they are instead is a ever rotating collection of specific ads. So I'm going to be talking about one ad group right now. So we might have 15 ad groups. Talk about one ad group. Let's say this ad group is, let's do a different analogy here. Let's say this ad group is drain cleaning for plumbers, drain cleaning service. So somebody will search drain cleaning near me, plumbing, drain cleaning, etc. So they'll be sent to this ad. Well, the way we do it on Google, each ad group is allowed to have 3 responsive search ads. That's what they're called. They're called responsive search ads. The reason they're called responsive search ads is because within each of them, they allow you to have up to 15 different headlines. I believe it's 4 descriptions. Yeah, it's 4. 4 descriptions. And then, a multitude of different ad assets. Now, this is per responsive search ad. So you could, write 3 headlines, 2 descriptions, and put no ad assets, and it would let you put that out there. But what you want to do is write 15 headlines, write all of them, write 4 script, write all of them, do all the ad assets you can, because they will take this. Google will take this collection of different headlines, collections of different descriptions, and it will choose to show, 2 to 3 of these and 1 to 2 of these on the actual ad itself, and it'll sprinkle these in as well. And the way it does this is it's basically testing all these different combinations of headlines and all these different combinations of descriptions working together to see what gets the most clicks, to see what works the best. And it might even, I'm pretty sure it does this, I'd have to look into this, but there's kind of debate on this, even change what it's showing depending on the person. So if this person tends to respond to these types of headlines, Google knows who's doing the searching. It'll show them that version of yours. So that's how this works. It's basically this AI version of adapting your ad to fit every person as much as possible and to get you the best performing ad as you possibly can. So like I said, for each ad group, you can have 3 responsive search ads. And this is what's within one responsive search ad. So you kind of see where I'm going here. We have 15 different headlines about drain cleaning, all slight variations. You want to make sure you kind of, I'll talk about what to write in a second. 15 different headlines, all slight variations, 4 descriptions, again, variations, and then ad assets. These are things like little call outs, like a promotion, or these are things like pictures or your phone number, that type of stuff. So then we have to do this here 3 times. We want to use every single responsive search ad we can. So we have our 10 ad groups that we're targeting, like we were following before. Within each ad group, we're going to have 3 responsive search ads, and within each responsive search ad, 15 headlines, 4 descriptions, and the ad assets. So 15 headlines is now 45 headlines. 4 descriptions is now 12. What we're doing here, and this is what most people don't do because, I don't know, because people get lazy, they do the easy thing to do. We max out how much information Google has, and that's going to allow us to get that much better results than our competitors. Think about this. If Google is mixing and matching these different pieces of the ad to see what performs the best, well, the best way for us to assist that process is to give it even more pieces to try with to find an even better combination of results. So that's how we split this up. I don't know if you heard my stomach growl there. That's how we split this up, and that's how we do that. Now to talk about what actually goes into the headlines here. So the headlines can only be 30 characters long. That's pretty short, but typically there's a few types of headlines that we want to write. The first one is what I like to call just direct headlines. So I'll kind of list this out for you here. And you want to mix and match these. So, we have 3 RSAs, responsive search ads. Don't put 15 direct headlines in one responsive search ad. Put some in each. Spread them out all the way across because they work well in combination with each other, the different styles of headlines. So, first one, direct. What this looks like is, here, I'll just give you an example. Top rated bathroom remodel. Right, it's direct. It's telling you exactly what we're doing. Same day drain cleaning. Very clear, very simple. Think of like billboard, big headline, simple headline. I always like to throw a benefit in there too. So like same day, top rated. That helps a ton. Sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes if you're doing like a location one, would be able to fit, bathroom remodel in Lincoln. That's fine. You don't need to do a benefit in the direct one, but I think it helps a lot. But we also have right after this benefit only ones. So we do these types of headlines and we do benefit headlines. Benefit headlines, sorry, that's kind of jacked, but benefit headlines are something like you know, 5-star rated. This is kind of a trust thing, but benefits a loose term here. These are just things that might make them do it. You know, same day service is a great one. 5-star rated is a great one. Free estimates. What else do we have? You know, serving. What location do we want? Serving Austin. 25 plus years. These type of things. These types of things that will get somebody to click the ad, that will trust you, that will see the benefit, that will like the offer you're having. So something that you kind of want to sprinkle into these benefits too. Let me track that back. These don't have to be directly separate. So notice how like I have a benefit in this. We also have the the ability to kind of combine these things together. I just want to make sure that you touch on all of these points. So you want to be clearly and direct about what you offer. You want to clearly provide a benefit, and you also want to clearly provide a CTA. So these go well with benefits too. So like when I said, free estimates, we could have done a, call today for a free estimate, right? Because we want the CTA coming in. Or click here for, et cetera, et cetera. Now, don't actually do the ellipses on your ad, but call today, usually call is what we're driving. Call is typically what our clients like for the ads. I'm assuming that's what you'd like too. In an ideal world, we'd like somebody to book it themselves. They book the estimate on your calendar and all that. That doesn't really happen. Calling is the best way to do that. Also allows you to vet the people coming in. So, call today for your free quote. Call now to XYZ benefit. Stop the leaks today. These types of things. In with the old, out with the old, in with the new. So now I'm kind of getting into the next part, which I'm not going to write this one down, but it is. So these are the core things. If you do this, you're 80% of the way there. Fill out your ads with the direct ones, stating clearly what you do. Benefit focused ones, obviously stating the benefit, and call to action. Now, if you want to be better than the 80%, start throwing in some clever or humorous headlines. What this does is it makes you stand out from the other ads on the page, makes you stand out from the other people, makes people click your ad. If you are, using some wordplay, or your ad rhymes a little bit, or the words are a little fun, they catch the eye, they have a slight humor. Humor is a tough one. Try to incorporate it, but it can fall flat. But here's the great thing about this. If we're using 4 to 5 different headlines and 5 of them are humorous, you try to write 5 of them, and none of them work, guess what? Google's going to learn that really quick, and then nobody's even going to see those because Google's not going to select them. So it's always worth it to try these clever and humorous headlines, because sometimes they do incredibly well. You wouldn't believe it, because everybody else on the page is saying the same thing. Everybody else on the page is saying call today for a free estimate. Everyone else is saying we are a bathroom remodeler in location. If you do something like your bathroom's stuck in the 90s, let's get it to modern day, or something along those lines of your bathroom is crap. I don't know if Google would allow that, but it makes you stand out. It makes you look interesting. It's a better ad. It's more clickable. So let's recap where we've been. We talked about what Google Ads are, why you should use them, why they're the best system. We talked about how there's a million searches a day. We're selecting specific high buying intent searches for our services that we want our ads to show up for. We talked about how we should divvy up those searches into different ad groups. Then we talked about how each ad group should have a message match from what the search says. So if the search says spring repair, we should write headlines about top rated garage door spring repair, call today for spring repair, 24/7 spring repair. How we're using message match by making the ad say the same thing as the actual search, right? And that we achieve that through the ad grouping. Now, we are 50% of the way there, maybe more, probably more, from the customer journey. So the customer, they type the ad, they type in their search, they see the ad, and once they see the ad and they choose to interact with it, they can interact with it in one of 2 ways. The first way, standard, they click it, and we'll talk about that. The other way is if you have an ad asset that is a phone call, which you definitely should. If they're on mobile, they can call you directly without even clicking your ad. So technically they're clicking it, but they're clicking the phone number and calling you directly. That's awesome. We prefer that. But what most people end up doing is clicking the ad itself, and it takes them to a landing page. So let's talk about this too. Google is like a pay-per-click service, right? It's called Google PPC, pay-per-click. So you get charged every time somebody clicks your ad. Now, the only thing that's stopping a click from turning into a call to your business, which then obviously would turn into a potential customer, revenue down the line, The only thing that's preventing this here is one thing, which is the landing page. I hope I can stress how important this is. If your landing page, which I'll talk about what that is in a second, if this sucks, your clicks will never turn into a call. People will click the ad and they will never call you. If you take this to the extreme, like if this is a dead page that just goes nowhere, goes to a blank screen, this will never happen. If your landing page is amazing, let's say it has a 100% conversion rate, impossible, but let's say it does, then every single click you get will turn into a call. So Google only goes so far. Google can only get you the click. If you're the best person at Google Ads in the world, the most you can get is a click. You need, I guess the call asset as well would get you a call. But other than that, you need to have this other half of the equation to turn these clicks into actual calls. So this is so critical. This is seriously the biggest leverage thing you can do. So what is a landing page? A landing page is just a website. You know, you might not be super techy, and that's fine. What you need to understand is a landing page is just a website, but it's not your main website. You don't want it to be your main website. If you don't have a website, no big deal. What a landing page is, excuse me, is a single page web page. So just single page, no tabs, no different routing to different parts of the site. Single page, simple, designed, that serves one purpose. The purpose of that landing page is to match that ad group specifically, to continue that message match, and to convert that person from a click into a phone call. So before, we had all these ad groups, and then we had the message match from what they typed in the search bar to what the ad says. The third layer of this message match is going into the landing page itself. The headline of that page, once they click that ad, better directly reflect what that person was searching for initially. This is the red zone. This is the home stretch. This is where we actually turn these clicks into calls. This is where we close deals. Well, we don't close deals, but this is where, you get what I'm saying. This is where we get the person to actually reach out to you and for you to get profitable from these Google ads. It's so critical. So you might be thinking, okay, Tyler, well, okay, I get that. I'm in my Google Ads dashboard right now. I paid for this website. I've got this website. Why can't I just send them there? You know, I have a lot of great reviews on my website. I have all this stuff on my website. I have a call to action. They can call me from that. Well, there's a couple, like technical reasons why you don't want to do that. First of all, you send them to your website. They click an ad about, bathroom remodeling, and they get to your website and it's whole house remodeling. They're talking about all these different things. Bad call. If you send them to, maybe you have a specific page on your website that's about bathroom remodeling. Okay. They go there. It's filled with paragraphs because that's how websites typically are. And at the top of the page, there's all this different things where there's like an About Us section. They go, oh, interesting. So they click the About Us, and they start reading the About Us, and they start bouncing all over the page. And what they're not doing is they're not calling you. They're learning about you. They're doing all this research, which we don't want that. We want them to just call you, just really clearly call you. So on a landing page, it specializes in a couple key areas. One, it keeps the focus onto one thing. That one thing being whatever that ad group is you're talking about. So we talked about spring repair. The landing page would be only about spring repair. The landing page would specifically show reviews from people who got that specific service done for them. The landing page would specifically show images from that service only. But most importantly, the landing page will really drive home the benefits and have a really strong call to action. So we really want huge benefit to them. Huge benefit about why they should get the service that they search for. Second thing, huge trust. Make this extra big. Show reviews. Show so much reviews that people can't even read them all. Trust, very critical. Then finally, huge CTA. And this includes benefit, right? Benefit and the CTA are kind of related. Because when you say CTA, you can't just say call today. You have to say something like call today for a free quote. Big red button on the bottom of the screen the full time. When somebody's scrolling through that screen, the whole time you want that button down there to say call today for a free estimate. The whole time. That's the best way to do this. So keep the benefit strong, the trust strong, CTA strong. Make it so unbelievably easy. Make it like so obvious. Make it so seem like it's such a clear next step for them to call you and reach out to you that you actually get those calls. And that's how you get landing pages with 30% plus conversion rates. You make it very tight to the ads that it showed up for. So it's all about garage door spring repair. Then they open the page. That's what the headline is. That's what the pictures are. That's what all the reviews are. Otherwise, to show trust too would be like, hey, we have a 5-year warranty, or we're fully licensed, insured, et cetera, et cetera. Answer all the questions somebody potentially would have in their head. Answer all the reservations they might have about even reaching out to you in the first place. Answer those on the page, and then make it so easy for them to call you. Make it like a good offer too, right? So we'll come out a free estimate, be there in 2 hours. Or, if you don't do something like that, something that works really well too is you got to think about what they want. So for remodeling, for example, typically it's like a free consultation, but it might be, just click to call to talk to an expert remodeler. That might be what they want to do from the ad. They might want to talk to somebody, or click to call to look at our inventory, or whatever it might be in your scenario. Really drive that home with the landing page. So I can't stress that enough. On technical terms, what you should do is you should make one landing page about your core service. Then you should duplicate it over and over again and change it up for each one. And then just kind of maintain all of those. So, you might have 10 that you're maintaining, but they're all kind of exactly the same. You just slightly change some of the benefits on the page, the images, the reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, that's kind of top to bottom how to do the Google Ads, how that works. There's 2 more things I want to touch on. They go kind of hand in hand here. First is conversion tracking. So Google Ads, right? You set the whole thing up. Let's say you did everything we've done so far. It's amazing. You're getting calls coming in. Now, you know that you're getting calls coming in, but Google doesn't know. And more importantly, Google doesn't know which ads are actually bringing those calls. So you need to set up conversion tracking. I don't really have much to talk about on this, but just set it up. Basically, all it is you put a tracking number on your landing pages or your ads or your contact form if that's what you're doing. So that way when you call, when a potential customer calls you, that data is then pinged back to Google saying, hey, this ad, this landing page and this ad group and this search resulted in a phone call. So then Google knows, and most importantly, both of you know what drove that result. So Google's AI can optimize for that better. And you, as the person running the ads, can look at that and say, okay, this group is doing better than this group. Maybe we'll make some strategic adjustments this way. Very critical. And then the secondary benefit of that isn't, the core thing, but it allows you to make audience segments from that. So now we're getting a little technical, but how before we said, okay, we get these million searches. We're specifically choosing these specific types of searches to show our ads for. That's great, but there's another way we can target people. It's by targeting them not based on necessarily what they're searching, but who they are. So we can serve our ads to these specific people based off the data we've collected about them. Now this is more of a all across the internet approach, because it's not just refined to Google search results. This is called a Performance Max retargeting campaign. So what we're doing is we're targeting 2 groups of people, either our past customers, which I highly recommend doing if you have a big past customer list, retarget them. They're like, I think the statistic is they're 6 times easier to sell, or they give you 6 times more money, something like that. And the other one is people who have clicked our ads in the past, like our main ad, but did not call us, did not convert. Those people we want to hit with a retargeting campaign as well. It tends to, lower our overall cost per lead by like 25% when we do something like this. So I really don't have anything to write for this, but that is what I recommend for that. And that's kind of the whole thing for Google Ads. It's a high level, it's a strategy of it. Make sure you're optimizing daily. That's something you have to do. You need to stay on top of each part of this funnel when you're doing the optimization. So the first part about optimization I would recommend is checking to see where your ads showed up for. So, we selected our keywords, but Google gets kind of loose with it, and they'll show your ads for some of the craziest searches you've ever seen. So check where your ads are showing up for, and if there's certain searches you don't want your ads to show up for, block those keywords from ever showing again. Put them as a negative keyword. Do that. That's probably one of the biggest optimizations you can make. and you can start doing that day one. Some of these other optimizations, you need a little data for, so you need to let them run out a little bit, maybe a week or a month, depending on how much traffic you're getting. But that's when you want to do some adjustments on, okay, this ad group is really driving conversions. This ad group is costing us a ton of money and we can't convert. So you either turn off that ad group, which I tend to recommend doing, just allocate more budget to that, or you could pause it and say, okay, let's figure this out, because if this ad group is a specific type of service that you really want to get, drive that home. But yeah, I mean that's really the end of it. I hope you got some value out of this. Remember, keep optimizing. Drop a comment below if you have any questions about this, or if any part was unclear, or if there's any aspect you want me to kind of expand on more. I'd also appreciate, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. And, if you're a home service business owner or involved in the company in some sort of way, and you want to have us, potentially build you out a full Google Ads system, manage it for you as well. It's all a one-time payment. There's a link in the description below for that. And, there's also a link below, completely free, for you to get an ROI calculator. So you can put in your industry and put in some numbers, and it can kind of project for you what a good return on investment for Google Ads would be, what you can possibly expect. So check those out. Leave a comment, leave a like. I'll see you guys in the next video.